By the way, where did the word Alzheimer's come from? Like, who created that word? It's kind of weird.
Mr. Alzheimer.
Yeah, it came from Dr. Alzheimer's, who found the plaque, right? So Dr. Alzheimer's was doing research. So Dr. Alzheimer's found the plaque, and that's how it became Alzheimer's disease. Right? Like bucket number one, category number one. Category number two is called the inflammation category. Inflammation category. So what is inflammation, guys? How do you define inflammation? What is it? Autoimmune. Okay, autoimmune is when the immune system gets confused and attacks itself. Right? Inflammation. So although I named several conditions of the lungs, it's all connected to what? Inflammation. Right? Pick another organ system. What about like the GI system? What are some conditions?
Arthritis.
Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is what? Is inflammation of your intestines. At your middle age, like in your 40s, your 50s, your blood pressure is not under control, you tend to have Alzheimer's when you're older, in your 70s and 80s. Okay? So high blood pressure, very important to keep under control at any age with that. Number one. Number two, I talked about cholesterol, right? If your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, if your LDL is above, is higher than it should be, it is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. Because what does cholesterol do to your arteries, guys? Clogs it up, right? High cholesterol. We talked about diabetes. Because sugar is toxic, right? Sugar promotes inflammation. I give like 1 hour lectures on just sugar alone. Sometimes I go and I give these lectures, the science behind the toxicity of sugar and the diseases it creates, right? In my cancer prevention lecture, I always talk about sugar because cancer loves sugar, right? We feed our cancers and things of that sort. So diabetes is number 3. Okay, if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, make sure it's under control. And that's basically nutrition and exercise, right? Diabetes. Number 4, obesity. Those who are overweight have a higher risk of Alzheimer's than those who are normal weight. Okay? Not because like your body's like, hey, you're fat, I'm gonna give you Alzheimer's, right? It's not that. It's simply the science behind it and the factors that lead to obesity, right? Obesity and being overweight is a state of inflammation. Being overweight is a state of inflammation. Obesity is also linked to 13 cancers. If you go to the American Cancer Society website, right, there's 13 cancers tied to being overweight. State of inflammation. Which is good and bad. It's bad because in the United States, 2 out of 3 of us are overweight based on something we call a BMI index, right? Body mass index. 2 out of 3 of us are overweight in the United States. But it's also good because if you want to lower your risk for Alzheimer's, if you want to lower your risk for 13 cancers, you get your weight to a better range. Make sense? Is that number 4 or 5?
4.
Okay, I forgot.
4.
Okay, now 4. Next risk factor is hearing loss. Why is hearing loss a risk factor for Alzheimer's?
Because you don't stimulate your.
Yeah, the brain is like a muscle. Use it or lose it. So the way we stimulate our brain is through our 5 senses. What you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you taste, what you touch, right? So when you're stimulating your brain, you're using your brain. If you're not stimulating your brain, it's like a muscle, it goes away. So when you cannot hear, you're losing an entire portal of brain stimulation. This is why it's so important, and I'm talking about the older folks, I'm not talking about you young kids, right? It's why it's so important that if there's some hearing loss, get it checked out, and if you need a hearing aid, use it. Because you want to stimulate your brain, right? You want to stimulate your brain. The other risk factor is vision loss for the exact same reason as hearing loss. and you can't see well because of cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, right? You're losing brain stimulation portal. That's why vision loss is a risk factor for Alzheimer's with that. As a matter of fact, if you can't hear well, because you're getting old, right? The risk of Alzheimer's increased by 40% from loss of hearing, right? But that 40% risk goes away with a hearing aid. Yeah, because now you can hear it, right? So this is all like preventable stuff that people don't realize with that. Next on the list is smoking, because smoking is toxicity, bucket number 3. Next on the list is alcohol, because alcohol is toxicity, right? Bucket number 3. Next on the list is air pollution, because air pollution is toxicity, bucket number 3. See, like all these 14 things make sense, right? Because they're all gonna fall under one bucket or another bucket, right? Blood pressure is under the first circulation bucket, air pollution is in the third bucket. Everything I say is gonna be in one of the buckets, one of the other buckets with that. Next on the list is traumatic brain injury. I'm talking about like the football players, the soccer players, those who keep banging their head, right? Head traumas is a risk factor for Alzheimer's with that. Next on the list is, believe it or not, education. Those who have a higher level of education have a lower risk of Alzheimer's than those with a lower level of education. And it's not because they're smarter, it's because they spent more time stimulating their brain in school. More brain exercise. Make sense? Go back to school. Right? So education, huge. And education is where you kids are at now, right? Stimulate that brain. Next on the list is social interaction. Those who socialize on a regular basis have a lower risk of Alzheimer's than those who are home alone all day not socializing. Did you know that we saw a spike in Alzheimer's during the pandemic? Because during the pandemic, what happened? Isolation. Everyone was shut down. Can't visit your grandparents, can't visit the grandkids, can't visit the kids. Everyone's at home, right? We saw a spike in Alzheimer's due to the lack of socialization.
Let's do more in-person type of review.
More socialization, right? With that. Next on the list is exercise. Exercise. Did you know that if you walk 9,000 steps a day, compared to those who hardly walk at all, and this was published 2 years ago, published in a medical journal, I think it was the British Medical Journal. They followed 70-something thousand participants. 70-something thousand participants were being followed, and each one of them wore a tracker where they can track the number of steps. They either had a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, right? How many of you guys use the Oura Ring? Anyone? Just me? Oh, dang, okay. This is cool, guys. Charge only once every 5 days. To track your sleep, every 5 days. I only charge it once every 5 days for an hour.
What is it called?
Oura Ring. O-U-R-A and then ring. They have it at Best Buy. So they track 70-something thousand people over 7 years. These are people, they can tell how many steps they did every day for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, they look back in these thousands of people and they look back to see how many people were diagnosed with Alzheimer's, new diagnosis of Alzheimer's over those 7 years. And so there were several hundred people with a new diagnosis of Alzheimer's in the 77,000 group. And they were able to see the number of steps they did, right? So the folks who walked about 9,000 steps a day, which is a lot of walking, right? Compared to the folks who hardly walked at all, those who walked 9,000 steps a day had a 50% lower risk of Alzheimer's compared to those who didn't walk. 50% decrease in just walking. Now, if you're like me, we're like, oh, how am I gonna walk 9,000 steps a day? That's like 5 miles, right? That's a lot of walking. Even if you could walk 9,000 steps a day, but you can walk 4,000 steps a day. 4,000 steps is doable, right? How many miles is that? Maybe 3 miles? That's like, you know, I mean, I know exactly the number of steps from like my couch to the fridge, back and forth, right? Multiple times a day. I just don't open the fridge, right? But if you can walk 4,000 steps a day, you lower your risk of Alzheimer's by 25%. Exercise is so important. One of the most important things you can do with that, okay? The next thing on the list is depression. Did you know that depression is a risk factor for Alzheimer's? For many reasons. Stress, depression, for many reasons, right? The first reason is when you're depressed, do you want to socialize? You want to isolate, right? You don't want to go out there and spend time with life. So that's reason number one. The other reason is that when you're depressed, certain stress hormones is always released with depression. What kind of stress hormone is being released? Does anyone know? Cortisol. You guys heard of cortisol? That's your stress hormone, right? When you're stressed, cortisol is released. So long-term cortisol release is not good for the body. Not good for the body, right? It's a risk factor for Alzheimer's. I do an entire lecture, like 3 hours on mental health. I do it all the time, on how your thoughts, your emotions is connected to your physical health. And we have data to show it, right? So there are certain ways that you think that will either promote health, and then there are certain ways that you think that promotes disease with that. So depression is a big risk factor. What number are we at? 14? I'm on my last one. Yay! Right on time too, right? What time is it? Oh, yay, 3 minutes. The last one is nutrition. There is a diet that helps with the brain, and there is a diet that's not good for the brain. What is the diet that's not good for the brain?
The sad diet.
The American diet. Pizza, burgers. No comment. No comment on boba. No comment. Ice cream, sugar, dessert, right? So in the next 2 minutes we have, I'm going to give you a list of 10 foods to protect your brain. You guys ready?
Yes.
Next 2 minutes we got 10 foods. And this has been published in several journals, several times, on the type of food to protect your brain. 2 minutes.
It's not in the e-book.
It's in the ebook. It's listed under one of the paragraphs. Yeah. Number 1, green leafy vegetables. Green leafy vegetables, number 1. Okay? That's kale, spinach,
Here.
bok choy, right? Number 1.
Broccoli.
Broccoli, yes. Number 2, brightly colored vegetables. Okay, brightly colored. That's the stuff that makes like, I don't know, like beets are beet red, or carrots are red, and right? Bell peppers are brightly green. That chemical that makes it brightly colored is really good for the brain. Number 3, nuts. Nuts. What's your favorite nuts?
Boiled peanuts.
Is peanut a nut? What? Cashews, walnuts,
He's our favorite nut.
pecan. He's your favorite nut? Peanut actually doesn't belong in the nut family. You know that? Peanut is a baboon. They try to sneak into the nut family. Peanut's not a nut. So nuts number 3. Number 4, beans. Number 4, beans. Right? Green beans, red beans, right? Mexican jumping beans, beans, number 4. really important. Beans, good source of protein, good source of fiber, right? Good for the brain. Number 5, beans is eaten like in every area of the blue zone. You guys know the blue zone? Yeah, I've given a lot of blue zone lectures on the science behind it, right? So beans is eaten in every part of the blue zone. Number 5 is whole grain.
Who's on the Democrat?
She said blue zone is Democrat. I'm trying to stay apolitical here. Right? So number 5, right? Whole grains. So basically it means fiber. Fiber is good for your body. Fiber helps with digestion. Fiber lowers your cholesterol, lowers heart disease, good for brain health, right? Number 6 is fish. Fish has what in it? That's good for the brain. Omega-3 fatty acid, strong antioxidant, right? What is better, wild fish or farm fish? Wild fish, right? So the fish that has more omega-3 is the fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, compared to the non-fatty fish. Non-fatty fish is like tilapia, right? So fish, really good for the brain. Number 6, no, is that number 7?
No, we're on 7.
We're on to 7 now.
7 already.
Yeah.
So focus.
Oh, berries is on the list.
Yeah.
Blueberries, raspberries, right? Super good with that strong antioxidant. Next is poultry. Poultry is chicken, turkey, chicken feet at dim sum, maybe, right? But if you buy the chicken, make sure it doesn't have the hormones and antibiotics. So poultry replaces red meat. Red meat is not on this list. Pork is not on the list, right? Next is olive oil. Olive oil, really good for the brain. A lot of data on olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil. And lastly, number 10. Number 10 here. I forgot, my memory's poor. Hydration, water. How much water is not on that list? How much water should we drink a day, guys?
6 cups.
6 cups? How much water should we drink a day? Okay,
8 cups.
8 cups? Okay, take your weight. Take your weight, how many pounds you are. So I'm 150 pounds, right? Divide your weight in half. So that's 75 pounds, right? Half of my weight is 75 pounds. You need to drink that much every day in ounces. So I need to drink at least 75 ounces a day. So take your weight, divide it in half, drink that amount in ounces every day. Because when you're hydrating, you're flushing out toxins, right? When you're hydrating, you're just helping every organ of your body, including your brain, with that. We are at 12:03. Dang, sorry about that. Hey guys, yes.
What about probiotics or like microbiome?
Microbiome, I give a 1-hour lecture on gut health. Yes, it's, I'll come back and teach you guys anything you want anytime, right? On all these different topics, like anti-aging, longevity science. We have a longevity science WhatsApp group with a bunch of scientists in there, doctors and PhDs, that we chat all the time every day.